this way. I remember thinking, and I would tell some of the announcers and some of the guys that, if I ever take over this damn business, Ming's going to be with me everywhere I go. When I negotiate a damn contract, he's going to be sitting in the fucking corner. And just because he was just legitimately a badass. But he's right about that. But as far as shoot fighting is concerned, you know, we're promoting our own product. Why should we even talk about shoot fighters? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, who gives a shit?
Do you remember WCW ever talking about bringing in Don Fry, or is that just rumor and innuendo?
I don't remember that.
Do you have any crazy Ming stories? I mean, can you give us one?
This is a legendary Ming story. Heenan told the story better than I did. And I was there that night. I believe I was there that night because I know there's a lot of commotion. I heard the story later. Ming, when he would, as a lot of guys would, when he get a little few inning, would get happy and would get tougher and would not take any bullshit. Legend has it that at the bar one night, Ming, there was a guy next to him, ripping on the fact that wrestling was fake. And all the guys were full of shit. And Ming did not have anything to say, just sat there. And the guy was still talking about how fake it was. Ming walked over to him, put his 2 fingers in the guy's mouth, and broke off his bottom teeth.
Oh, God. Wow.
The reason I think I was there that night was there was a lot of commotion at the bar one night when Ming was there and I was there. So I think I was around for that. But yeah, just the guys were in there, pow, broke off, he pulled his bottom teeth. And that's another Ming story I have is not too graphic, but we were on our way into Universal Studios to do our taping. And we had a place to park, and I parked my rental car, and I saw Ming, and we walked in together. I loved talking to him because he was such a great guy. And he said, you've got children, and I had 5 children. They were younger at that time. And he said, how's things at your house? How do you handle your children? I said, I don't know. I just try to be the best father again. He said, my son doesn't do anything I say. He just won't do anything I say. I said, let your son know who the fuck you are. You know, I mean, Tony Schiavone telling his son Matt to do something is different than Ming telling his son to do something.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Because, I mean, I would say, you know, son, I broke out a guy's bottom teeth at the bar one night. You know, I will stick your head up your ass. So I think his son was dead. So we had a big laugh about that. And I always remember that when Ming had come to me for fatherly advice, and I had told him to remind his son who in the fuck he was because he was a badass.
Absolutely.
But Meltzer's right that that was more kind of, I guess, the impression that we had of Ming in the back, and we knew who he was than the fans, him being a mid-card guy. But that's, you know, I thought his run as King Haku and all of that stuff in the WWE was pretty good.
Absolutely it was. From the October 27th Observer, Dave is recapping a Nitro again. He says Goldberg, who got a noticeable pop, tackled, and suplexed Wrath for the pin in only 20 seconds. Don't think for a second that Goldberg doing the gimmick where he walks to the ring like Shamrock, with gloves like Shamrock, that WCW isn't doing an in-your-face gimmick and that they are taking somebody with no name and creating their own Shamrock. Meanwhile, WWF had the real thing and turned him into just another pro wrestler. Mm-hmm. Tony, do you remember there being any sort of talk internally about Shamrock and WCW kind of thinking, we need a guy like this? Or is this, again, just Meltzer?
I think Meltzer's probably right on here with that. That the look and the gloves and everything were similar. You know, there was awful lot, just like there is in pro sports now. When somebody does something and you see it, when a team does something and they see it, you'll see other teams do it as well. It kind of catches on. So they obviously knew both sides knew what was going on. And I think there may be a lot of validity to that.
On the Observer on November 3rd, he's recapping a Nitro talking about Alex Wright wrestling Steve McMichael, and he references that Goldberg did a run-in doing his jackhammer on McMichael while Deborah distracted the referee, and then Wright drops on top of Steve for the pin. So the angle here, which I've always kind of been fascinated with, WCW's obsession with this, is after the match, Deborah gives Goldberg Steve's 1985 Super Bowl ring from the Chicago Bears, and as Alex Wright goes to thank Goldberg, he decks Alex and gives him a jackhammer as well, and it got negative a star and a half, which is fun. Do you remember this segment about a Super Bowl ring? And I want you to just kind of, let's do a detour here and talk about WCW and their obsession with fucking rings. It feels like Battle Bowl rings, Super Bowl rings. If there's a ring, WCW wants to find a way to make an angle out of this. Who loved this concept so much?
Well, I remember that Dusty loved the ring concept. I remember him saying that, that what was important to athletes and what was a big deal was a ring.
Right.
I remember him saying that. Super Bowl rings, World Series rings, whatever. And I guess that kind of caught on and stayed. I mean, years ago I remember used to go to the Roanoke Civic Center and they would wrestle for a brand new Cadillac. So they always try to think of something different to wrestle for.
Sure.
Let me say this. When you were talking about Deborah, the only thing I could think about when you're talking about Deborah was Deborah.
Is she your favorite thing to come out of Tuscaloosa?
I love her. Actually, I still stay in contact with her. I think did she get her master's at Alabama?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think she did. I think she got her master's degree at Alabama. And oh my God. I had lunch with her one day in Tuscaloosa. In Birmingham. And then we played a basketball game in Tuscaloosa, and her and her friends came out. I got her tickets, had dinner with her afterwards, and we talked. You're talking about a ring, and I'm talking about her boobs.
Roll Tide.
Well, thank you. She was just, Deborah McMichael was a legitimately sweet lady who looked like $1 million. And we became very friendly. And, not in the biblical sense, things like that. We became very friendly, and I just loved her. And now you're talking about her, and you're talking about Alex Wright getting jackhammered. You're talking about a star and a half match, and I'm just thinking about the way she looked.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I'm just as the girl at Starbucks says, that you're just an old creep.
Once upon a time, you were a young creep.
Yes, I was. Middle-aged creep back then.
There you go.
But, yeah. Thank you for bringing her up.
Yeah, it looks like I brought some other stuff up, too. In mid-November, Meltzer reported that WCW was going to do...
I'd give the match 5 stars just because she was in the camera angle. Camera shot. Okay? That's 5 stars. Okay?
There you go.
All right.
I had never heard this before. I want you to shoot this down or co-sign this. Meltzer says that WCW was considering doing a tough man division with the likes of Chris Benoit, Finlay, Bill Goldberg, Mongo McMichael, Ming, and others, and supposedly even include a world title for this division. Do you remember this being discussed?
Yeah, I do remember this being discussed. And again, I think it got kind of lost because they had so much to do. It kind of got lost in the shuffle.
It's weird
how if you have Conrad, if you have a freaking tough man division, you're going to eventually run out of tough men. And I always thought that we had so many divisions. I understand we had a cruiserweight division, which was a kind of offshoot of the junior heavyweight championship or whatever it was. You have all these different titles. To me, and I know this is old school, it makes your world champion less than a world champion.
So let me ask you this. When we're saying tough man division, around this same time, or the next year actually, the next summer, the WWF would introduce Brawl for All, which is universally panned as one of their worst fucking ideas ever. This tough man division, was this supposed to be worked, or would this be a shoot?
No, it used to be a work. Everything we did was a work, Conrad.
Well, not Brawl for All, which is still the dumbest idea maybe in the history of pro wrestling, but we'll challenge that later, I'm
I'm
sure.
gonna tell you how dumb Brawl for All was. Okay?
Okay.
I've completely forgotten about it. That's how freaking dumb it was. If you'll ask, say, Shivani, tell us about Brawl for All, I say, I don't even know where in the hell it was.
That's great.
Okay? And that, I'm telling you, that sometimes is a barometer. If there's something really shitty,
You block it out.
and you have a lot of shitty stuff, you don't remember it. But if there's something really good, you remember it. And then again, there's something really, really, really bad, you remember it. But that was kind of like, kind of all in the middle there.
During November, Goldberg starts working house show matches with Bobby Eaton. Tony, I think we probably agree here. If we were booking a green guy that we wanted to push, doesn't it make sense to book him with a talent like Bobby Eaton?
No question. Bobby Eaton was one of the great workers, and Bobby was also one of the guys who would do anything. You know, Bobby Eaton took bumps for me too. Yeah, I agree.
Wait, in the ring or off the fingernail?
When I used to be for a stretch, I was the ring announcer at the Omni, and sometimes Bobby would, they would throw him down right to where I was, and he would kind of come over to us, and we would stand up. Me and Charlie McGowan, which was would ring the bell, would stand up, and Bobby would push me, and then he would say, "Push me back," and I would push him, and he would take a bump for me. That's the type of guy Bobby Eaton was. He was just there for the entertainment value. He was a tremendous worker, and he was there for the business.
Absolutely.
Bumps for me. There you go. I can tell you right now, if I would ever push Jim Cornette, he wouldn't have taken a bump for me. He'd have hit me in the head with his racket. But Bobby used to take. But we did that a lot at the Omni through the years.
So by the end of November, Meltzer notes that Goldberg is already starting to move quarter hours, giving him a +10 rating with only 9 guys finishing ahead of him. Some of those names being Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, Steve Austin, and Rey Mysterio. Tony, I'm curious, when do you remember quarter hours being discussed? When did that become a thing for WCW?
I think they became a thing for WCW just about the time that we started going on the air a little bit earlier, if you'll recall. It's 5 minutes before. The discussion was that we needed to be doing something hot or something that the fans wanted to see at every quarter hour. In other words, don't be in a break, have something good every quarter hour, because that's when, right then, at 8:15:000 is when they take the ratings sample. So I remember that being discussed, and it was very important that we had things at the quarter hour. And I think that also led to us being very confused is not the word here, Conrad, but we did a lot of changes on the fly.
Right.
And I think that was because they would go back and they would lay out this big nitro, and then they would watch things happen. They would look at the quarter hours and thinking, "Uh-oh, this is not going according to plan. We need to change things up," and they would change things up as we were going on. So I remember, that's what I remember about the quarter hours, them saying, we've got to have it at 15, at 30, at 45, top of the hour, we've got to be doing something. That's why, well, they wanted to start the show a little bit before Vince, but they also wanted to make sure at the top of the hour that they weren't in the open, that they wanted to be wrestling. That was the thought back then.
I like it. Goldberg was supposed to wrestle Mongo here at World War III, so Ming was out. They had kind of shelved that idea, and now it's supposed to be Mongo in November, but Goldberg has to pull out due to a groin injury, so they start doing feuds with pull-aparts, backstage angles, and so forth to kind of work around the fact that Goldberg is injured, including a deal where on the December 15th Nitro, J.J. Dillon orders Goldberg to take a match with Ming, which gets a pop. But then Mongo attacks Goldberg, causing a pull-apart. So ultimately, this Mongo-Goldberg match that was supposed to happen before actually happens at Starrcade 97. So that's where you'll see Goldberg's pay-per-view debut, the biggest pay-per-view in the history of WCW at that time, Starrcade 97. And it wins the Observer's worst match poll for the pay-per-view. And Meltzer's breakdown is just too fun to skip. Here it is. Okay. Bill Goldberg pins Steve McMichael in 5 5 minutes and 59 seconds, they started brawling in the aisle. Unfortunately, they wound up in the ring. There was no heat at all because it was deaf, dumb, and blind leading the blind. It ended up with a spot where Goldberg punched McMichael, who fell through a table set up at ringside. There was a small ECW chant, but I'm not sure if it was in mocking it, since it was the weakest table-breaking spot in history. McMichael got back in the ring, selling his back. He tried his tombstone piledriver, but he couldn't hold Goldberg, who then finished McMichael with the jackhammer. Hideous, -1 star. So, Tony, I understand the football aspect of having a Falcon take on a Bear, but is it really wise to book two green guys like this in your biggest pay-per-view of all time? Who booked this shit?
The committee did. I agree. It's not a good idea. But I guess the opposite thing is, if you want to put Goldberg on your biggest pay-per-view, who do you put him with?
Right.
And again, it gets back to the fact of you got so many combinations, you run out of combinations so far. I'm sure that Goldberg and McMichael worked on this match at the power plant. I would hope they did. But
hard to tell.
That piques my interest. I want to go back and watch that match.
I think you're the only one.
No, I do want to go back and watch that match because I just want to see how bad it was. You know, I look at I've not watched much wrestling. I'll be honest with you since I left. But what I have watched, and I can't name a match. But what I've watched, I look at that and go, oh, that's bullshit. So basically, on the bullshit meter, it was probably that. Meltzer may be right. To me, that match would reek of being a bad one.
Yeah.
Only because the guys are green.
So Goldberg starts working house show matches with the likes of Barry Horowitz, Renegade, and Glacier around this time. Many of these matches finishing in under 10 seconds. I can't wait to talk about Renegade with you. We'll do it another time. But speaking of stupid fucking ideas.
Well, can I say this about Renegade?
Yes, sir.
He's dead, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So then we can talk shit about him.
Oh, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Where were we? I'm sorry. I was thinking about Irving Michael again. Go ahead.
Glacier. I want to know about this horse shit. It's a little over a year old here, and supposedly WCW invests all kinds of money and time in this debacle for the silly snow effect and the lasers and just the whole presentation. And now here we are roughly a year after it, and we're squashing it in 10 seconds. I need to hear the way this shit was pitched to you the first time. Do you remember this whole Glacier debacle?
Well, I remember the teasers. That's how it started.
Yeah.
And the teasers were pretty awesome. And I remember what I remember about it is Eric saying basically that Mortal Kombat and his kids were into Mortal Kombat in the video game, and I guess this guy Glacier was kind of like a rip-off of that, or an offshoot of that, one of the Mortal Kombat guys, and he thought they could get the kids with it. But I knew that Conrad, I think we all knew that there was no way that anybody could follow up all this hype. It was impossible. It was one of those overhyped things that unless he was, it was impossible to do. I mean, I knew just by all this build-up we had, Blood Runs Cold? Was that one of the things?
That's right.
How about that? Jogging my old man memory. I just knew there was no way that this guy, and good guy, would be able to, it would be a popcorn fart.
Yeah, I don't think, let me be clear there, I'm not disparaging the person who played the character, just the gimmick was the shit.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
the gimmick was the
Bailed
shit
him out.
because it was too well done.
Well, here's one way of putting it. The first Nitro of '98 was from the
Yeah,
Georgia
it was too well done. It was a gimmick that had these vignettes and it had all these teasers that
You couldn't live up to.
could not live up to. Absolutely. Now, compare that to Goldberg. No teasers, no build-up. It was just what happened in the ring and put him over.
No teasers. Hell, we don't even know his fucking name. Even the announcers don't. first Nitro of '98 is at the Georgia Dome, and that's a lot of records, and it features the tremendous in-ring confrontation that people wanted to see from a debuting Bret Hart and Ric Flair. This is right after Bret's arrival. And on this show, on the undercard, Goldberg pins Stevie Ray from the Harlem Heat in under 3 minutes. Now we get to something you probably didn't think you'd hear. The next week, Nitro was a little different. Meltzer wrote, the opener was a great UWF-style match as Bill Goldberg beat Jerry Flynn in a minute 24. Apparently the day before at the Worldwide tapings, these two did what was supposed to be an easy squash, and the bout was so hot they decided to put it on Nitro, and what aired was basically a duplicate of that match. Flynn has worked with the PWFG in Japan and actually did the World Combat Championship shoot show, losing his only match, so he knows how to work a UWF style. Since Goldberg is so over, they can do this style and get big pops doing it. Tony, did you hear about this Jerry Flynn match at Worldwide? Do you remember that?
I don't remember it at all. No.
Does this sound like an idea that Eric Bischoff would be high on, given his martial arts background?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that.
Goldberg starts
And to me, it was kind of like shoot fighting.
Right.
I didn't give a shit about shoot fighting. I didn't give a shit about martial arts. So neither one of them got over with me. But that's just my thing.
Well, roll tide.
Yeah.
Goldberg starts racking up wins after this in a big way, taking on the likes of Kendall Windham, Ming, Brad Armstrong, Buddy Lee Parker, Yuji Nagata, Mark Starr, Dave Finlay, Rick Fuller, Sick Boy, Barry Darsow, Vincent Lodi, Wayne Bloom, Rocco Rock, Van Hammer, Mike Enos, Scott Norton, and Jim Powers. The list goes on and on.
My God.
From the February 9th Observer, Dave wrote, Goldberg destroyed Mark Starr in a minute 12 with the jackhammer to the same big pop as always. Whenever I see Goldberg, I can only think how lucky we are in this day and age to have supplements like creatine, so all the wrestlers don't have to see a guy like Goldberg getting a push based on nothing but a look and start gobbling up steroids like everyone 14 years ago did when Nikita Koloff came in and got the exact same reaction, looking almost exactly the same with the same push. I'm sure we'll talk about Nikita a lot on another show, but I want to touch on steroids and creatine here. Back in 97, 98, we started hearing a lot about this, and it really cranked up when Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire got hot in baseball, setting all the home run records. Do you remember the boys talking about creatine and that being a thing?
No, I don't. And I didn't go in the, we had our own room.
Right.
Our own locker room, so I didn't go in the locker room and really hang out with them that much. But I mean, Conrad, it was pretty apparent. I mean, that it was there. And I guess what happened with Sosa and McGwire began the testing stage of wrestling. But I don't remember talk about that. But I think it was pretty apparent that happened. And it's just, that's Meltzer trying to be a ripper.
In early February, he reports that Ming wrestled Goldberg at a WCW Saturday Night taping, and Goldberg blew up after 6 minutes into the match and couldn't do his jackhammer right and ended up accidentally dropping Ming on his head.
Right.
I'm sure we'll talk about the mule kick to Bret Hart some other time, but do you remember Goldberg having a reputation as being dangerous and guys not wanting to work with him when he was kind of young in his career here?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that the discussion was in the back that he can hurt you because he's green, he's getting this big push, and because he legitimately gets pretty fired up about what's going on. And when the bell rings. For some reason, I do remember Bill kind of blowing up and us thinking, this match has gone too long for him.
Right.
You can blow up two ways. It can go a little bit longer than you think it, or it go a little bit longer than you're used to, and thus physically you're blown up. But mentally and emotionally you get blown up too because you get so fired up.
Right.
So I think we probably saw a couple of instances of that with Goldberg.
Let's talk about the match a lot of people are probably tuning in to hear us talk about. It's Goldberg and Steve Regal. This match happened on Nitro, and of course it ends like the rest of them after 5 minutes with a jackhammer. Meltzer wrote, simply put, it doesn't matter the opponent. Goldberg's matches have to be 90 seconds. He was totally exposed here, and everyone in the crowd was before their very eyes. There was some heat on Regal because they thought he was kind of exposing him, since Regal is a legitimate shooter as opposed to a paper shooter. But Regal was just doing a wrestling match, and Goldberg only has his 3 spots and his quick bursts of intensity, and is lost doing anything else. Do you remember this specific match and the heat on Regal after? There were rumors coming out of the taping that he was fired that day, but it would take about a month before they fired him, and Meltzer would then still blame this match as the reason his 90-day rollover wouldn't be renewed.
I do remember something about that. And I do know that Regal prided himself as a shooter and a legit wrestler. But whether that led to it or not, I don't know. You know, back then, Meltzer talked to a lot of the boys, so he probably, I would think that was probably legit.
Goldberg would defeat Brad Armstrong in around 2 minutes at Super Brawl 8, and what Meltzer gave 1 star in the description, it was what it needed to be.
Yeah, he's right about that.
The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which is one of the biggest papers in the South and was even bigger in 97-98, really.
It used to be a big paper. It's a piece of crap now, but go ahead.
In 98, it had a huge distribution, though, did it not?
Sure it did.
They ran a positive story on Goldberg towards the end of February, and in a weird little trivia note that we'll mention here, his girlfriend Lisa, in years prior, was a diamond doll for DDP when he used that as a gimmick. And he had already become friendly, he being Goldberg, with Sting and Lex, since they worked out at the same gym. So the original idea, at least from Goldberg's point of view, was for him to be named the Hybrid or the Hybrid Fighter, but there was some sort of trademark problem with a clothing company called Hybrid Clothes. And Goldberg noted that the push he's getting is very unique and compared himself to the Ultimate Warrior and Magnum TA. Any recollection of there being a discussion of a hybrid name? I mean, I know you don't remember what to call him, but when you were kind of throwing out freestyle names for nicknames, was hybrid ever something you heard?
Yeah, it's something that I heard discussed in talking to members of the booking committee, but nothing that and I'm sure they did their work as far as trying to trademark it. I don't, this comparison, I guess Goldberg made the comparison to himself and the Ultimate Warrior. I don't know about that.
How do you not know about it in that he couldn't work a long match? It was a lot of high intensity. He had a reputation for hurting guys. That, to me, all kind of lines up. I mean, in early March, go ahead.
I just thought, I know Ultimate Warrior made a lot of money, but I just thought Goldberg was a little bit more, I don't know, maybe it was the Ultimate Warrior gimmick that.
Yeah, the tassels and the paint throws you off.
Yeah, and shaking the ropes and everything kind of overshadowed everything, and then made you look at the gimmick itself than just what he did. But I thought Goldberg was much better in the ring than the Ultimate Warrior was. Agreed that neither one could probably do a long match.
Right.
But Goldberg's, and I guess it's because the jackhammer looks so legit, Goldberg came across to me much better performer than the Ultimate Warrior did. That's just my own take.
In early March, it comes out that Ahmed Johnson was trying to get Bischoff to sign him to work with Goldberg. Thank God this didn't happen. Tony, what was your favorite Ahmed Johnson match?
It was my favorite Ahmed Johnson match was the day, and Conrad, I think it was Charlotte, North Carolina, that he got out of the limousine, he ran down the street, he went to the offices of the Charlotte Knights baseball team, and he grabbed Tommy Viola, who is their media relations manager, who is also known as a luchador's El Shitstorm Viola, beat him up with a baseball bat, ran back, got into the limousine, and left.
I remember that well. Meltzer gave it 4.5 stars.
So what I'm telling you, I don't remember a fucking thing about Ahmed Johnson.
That's what I was hoping you'd say.
Okay.
That's what I was
So
hoping
okay,
for.
I'm looking up Ahmed Johnson right now. Okay, and I'm looking up pictures, images of Ahmed Johnson.
Yeah.
You know who pops up?
Who?